Welcome back to another episode of Cantina Chronicles. We are happy to be back in the galaxy talking the wars in the stars. We're most happy for Adam's return. Adam's back.
Yay. I'm back. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks to Jason for holding down the fort and you know, doing a great job making it feel like, why am I even here?
He did it. He did an admirable job.
Yeah, he was great.
We have sort of Cantina Chronicles satellite division at work with Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah, and for us, everyone is essential. So we're so glad you're back, Adam. And that means that the Cantina crew is back together for just in time for coverage of all the latest breaking news from D23. We're a little later than most in terms of covering all the news and updates from D23, but I think we're gonna really dig deep on each update, each film project, everything that's going on from Lucasfilm, Disney, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. This is something I've been waiting for all week, basically, is to talk about this stuff with you guys. So can't wait. So happy for everyone to join us on this.
I love Comic-Con, and I love when, you know, we have, you know, Star Wars Celebration, but I'm kind of the giant nerd that D23 might be. Because they save all the big news for like some of my favorite things in all in one, and then I realized like how much I hate myself for being like, I want to watch the Disney thing. that's selling me all the Disney stuff, but it's kind of amazing.
They did a good job with it.
The production value was just amazing. I don't know if you guys saw like, you know, snippets or clips or anything from the event, but just like beautiful sort of like what looks like sort of renderings of real world spaces in the galaxy. Far, far away, that they're sort of like moving. You're seeing things walk around behind the characters. It sort of feels like the Biomes documentary, or a sort of actuality sort of piece that you can watch on Disney Plus, where you're seeing almost like what looks like rendered backgrounds of the volume, sort of from The Mandalorian, but just behind all the speakers. Really, really cool stuff. Like really cool looking show. Yeah,
so cool. And then like a ton of like costumes and like just a lot of the makeups and markups of all the things from all the shows that you can pose by. They're just seeing all the creative people I like kind of standing next to just like the creatures that are going to be in Skeleton Crew. Like there was just a giant diorama of all those things where I'm like, that's awesome.
Did you see did you see I sent you one late night? I like singled out one of those creatures from that diorama. I did see that photo. It was it's the pirate from Mandalorian.
Escaped. I did see that. Yes.
Yeah.
Which so I mean, we're kind of already talking about. So the big theory when Mando season 3 was going on was that the plant pirate guy was going to be the big bad.
Gorian Shard. Let's not forget his name here.
Oh yeah, Gorian Shard. R.I.P.
I don't know how you did. Right, but then
Star Wars character.
It's amazing. Yeah, we all remember him. We all remember his name. It's totally a name I'll never forget.
Lived in one episode?
Literally couldn't tell you it back, even though I heard it 30 seconds ago. Shard, Gorian Shard,
Gorian Shard. Yeah, right.
Gorian Shard. Okay.
Gorian Shard.
Yeah, Gorian Shard. So he was rumored to be the big bad in Skeleton Crew, but it's one of those funny things where it's just like you were like 2 feet off. Right, because like it was the first officer, the first
Vane,
whatever.
Yeah,
Vane. Yeah.
So let's talk about Skeleton Crew. I mean, this is the one property we got an actual trailer for, which was spectacular, and I can't emphasize my hype enough for this show. Like it sort of captures, you know, Amblin style, you know, Spielbergian style, you know, film projects from the past that we adore, you know, in our youth and things like that. It sort of just captures that adventurous feel that I was like blown away by. I was just like so excited for that movie, that show in specifically, just given the Goonies vibes and you know, it being helmed by John Watts. Like it's so cool. But let's just talk about that trailer first. I mean, we all watched it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure people have probably watched some reaction videos and whatever on it at this point. Like, I mean, pretty much it's brilliant. Like it just starts, and like honestly, when I was watching it, I didn't really think I was watching a Star Wars. It took like my second viewing to be like, oh, it's like a space bus, and that's an Ithorian on the sidewalk, and like, you know, just like it was pretty subtle. I'm like, oh, the kids are riding mini speeder bikes instead of you know, bicycles. But it was so Amblin, it was just like hit you over the head with it. I think Grant, like you said, it's like that Modesto, just like aesthetic. That's like
it was like Modesto and the Galaxy Far, Far Away. Which what more could you ask for? I'm hoping the planet's called Modessa or something. That's like, you know what I mean? I'm hoping that, I think the planet's unnamed in the trailer, but I'm hoping that the planet has a fun name. That's a little homage to George's hometown of Modesto, California.
Yeah, that's just spot on. And then, but then the trailer ramps, and I almost worried it gave too much away. There's like a lot of like really, I don't even know, like some dialogue lines from the kids that I like kind of doubt we'll even hear in the show, because they were just so poignant for that moment in the trailer, and it like really just pushed the plot along. It's like, I mean, we kind of got the whole series in the trailer. I think we did, but I also don't think that's necessarily a spoiler, because my feeling about, and I could be wrong, because every time I have a theory about a show, I'm 100% wrong. But I have a feeling this is going to be might be one where we can kind of guess where it's going.
I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward show, which is an okay thing, right? Like I think it's the kids get lost, they get entangled with bounty hunters or pirates coming after them. They just have to get home. Right, like, which is a very Amblin thing. If you go back to the Amblin movies of the 80s, like even the Goonies is very much like we're on an adventure, but really we have to get home and save our house.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's all about real estate. It's always about real estate in Amblin movies. So I'm guessing this thing's going to be plowed over by the New Republic, and they have to get whatever for. Like, it's going to be. So my reaction, I had a very different reaction than both of you. I saw this thing, the first half of it, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh wow!
Don't like it at all, because these are. It might be. I mean, Ben and I are pretty close in age, but I feel like I grew up on Amblin movies. Mm-hmm. Like I grew up. Like I watched the Goonies. Like literally, my parents bought me the $100 VHS of the Goonies because they were sick of renting it for me. Like they bought it from the video store. Like they had the video store order it from the sale, because like it's going to be cheaper to buy you that than rent it for you. And like they did the math. It's like after 20 weekends, we'll have owned this thing. We're just going to buy it for you, Adam, because you just watch it nonstop. Like, The Goonies was the movie I watched the most. And so this felt the moment, and I'm open to nostalgia, but it felt very easy to me at first. Now, I just want to follow you through my journey with this.
Okay.
Then the second half of the trailer starts, and I'm like, Star Wars. Like, Wars in the Stars, creatures, cool aliens, so many aliens. And it's similar to you, Ben. The more I watch this, I'm fine. This is totally... They're doing the Star Wars overlay on top of it. The Ithorian, what sold me the most was the Ithorian. That he goes walking past an Ithorian in Star Wars suburbs. Wow. And I'm like, you know what? All right, you got me. You got me, Star Wars. Like, I'm on board now.
No, Adam, I had the exact same experience. Like, when I first, I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. And then it was just, then it took off. And it was, first of all, it was beautiful. The VFX in space were amazing, and all the action sequences and the characters, and then of course, like, you know, they brought in the Jedi reveal in the trailer, which I'm like,
Jedi reveal? Are we sure?
Jedi.
It's so funny you guys were sort of hesitant to embrace the show upon your initial viewing of the trailer, because I thought it fit like a perfect puzzle piece. I was like, this is actually the puzzle piece that's missing. And at the end of D23, I was like, is the Venn diagram of Star Wars fans fully satiated by all of this stuff? You're getting, this, Mando, Andor. It was like all the quadrants of Star Wars fans were being satisfied by what they showed at D23. And if this particularly sort of captured the family, adventure film that I think I'm so excited
to love this.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna ball up. I love that it's around the end of the year, and for myself, we celebrate Christmas. It feels like a Christmas time thing, right? Like it's exactly what I cannot wait to watch in December. I'm 100% sold on this after watching it a couple times, and like the thing about it is I feel like this may actually be the series that is closest in tone to A New Hope. Because A New Hope is very much a simple fantasy story that is aimed at kids, not little kids. But this is very much that they're going to be torn in adventure. Like I feel like they're going to get closest in tone, and that's not to say it's the best thing ever. But I think you're right, Grant. I feel like they are hitting. Like this is all I've ever wanted.
Yeah,
is Star Wars for everyone. Make a Star Wars show for everyone, and I feel like we're getting there. We're getting there. And then my wife, who was kind of more sold on it than I was at first, was like, I'm kind of into this. And then you have a Jude Law reveal at the end.
Yeah, let's go.
And she's just like, 100%. I'm there for this. Like, she's like, is that Jude Law? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, that's the best Star Wars ever.
Yeah, it's interesting because The Force Awakens, Rey has a lot of independence that Luke doesn't have, and that these kids don't have. Right?
Yeah, Luke is a
these kids are in
child.
stuffy suburbs, right? And they're yearning for adventure. Luke is in the drab desert where there's nothing going on. He's
with overbearing parents,
overbearing, parents, right? Or uncle, aunt, and uncle, and it's and Rey has that agency and that independence right away. She's already engaged in so many things that are what seem to be like just incredible sort of feats. Like she's climbing around, broken down Star Destroyer. She's doing all this cool stuff. She has a lot of independence and grit already. It's so cool to see these kids and establish this ordinary world and slingshot them across the galaxy, basically. And I think that's such a smart move because I think that's kind of the power of Star Wars. I've always said the power of Star Wars is like having an incredibly menacing villain and then also creating a sense of adventure. And I think what this show does, in my mind, is just create this incredible sense of adventure, discovery. Like you guys are saying, there's lots of new what look like alien creatures explored in the trailer.
So many, so many aliens.
The designs are awesome. Yeah,
the fact that the entire Rogues gallery are all aliens and classic aliens. We get werewolf alien back. And I can't remember that from the original. Like,
I saw that.
I'm so psyched. Can you help me do some quick math?
All right.
So. This takes place how many years post Return of the Jedi?
7?
9?
9?
7, 9. So let's split the difference, say 8. Just
I don't know if honestly, I have no idea. They just said it's in the Mandoverse.
Everything seems to suggest they are releasing stuff in the Mandoverse like chronologically. Yeah, so it is post Ahsoka-ish, but it might be at the same time. So let's just say let's go with 8 years. So that puts it Return of the Jedi came out,
but okay.
Return of the Jedi came out in 81?
Sure.
No, 83?
83.
So this would make it in our real time 1991. That would make Luke 48 years old.
All right.
About the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Jude Law is 51 years old. So the reason I'm doing this math is Jude Law's character and Luke Skywalker are about the exact same age.
Okay.
In universe. So that's just interesting,
fascinating.
Right?
That's
because if he is, I've also like a beer and a half in, but I'm like pretty good about this math. I'm pretty certain about this math. If he is a Force user, it's interesting because it's someone who came about same time as Luke Skywalker. So
Ezra Bridger is the exact same age too.
Yeah, and so it's another person.
It's almost like the Force like scatter shot, like a bunch of saviors, and they're like, let's see what happens.
But wouldn't that be kind of wouldn't that be a really interesting, that's what I'm getting at. So would that be a really interesting way to kind of retcon Star Wars? It's just like, Luke is not the chosen one. Like the Force awakened and tapped all of these people.
Yeah.
And Luke just happened to be the one that was in a glide path to be the chosen one. Like Ezra Bridger could have been the chosen one.
It'd be a weird retcon. Like, cause like why?
But I'm lost.
Because it's interesting. It's like, because the Force has because the Force knows. The Force knows that you can't put all your eggs in one basket, and so it tapped all of these people to possibly be the thing to bring balance to the Force. I'm just saying.
It's interesting.
I like that idea.
Thought. I think we're jumping the gun on other blaster, should I say? On Jude
I don't
Law.
think he's a Jedi.
I first of all, yeah, we really don't know. I think it maybe sets up more than it's supposed to sort of signify. I think it's important to talk about these kids too. I mean, like we have this cast of kids, right? We have Wim, Fern, KB, and Neil, I think, of the group of kids that are centric to the plot of the story, which is so cool that they actually get to be the sort of vehicle for the audience, and you're not getting some of these older characters at the forefront. And so when we do see Jude Law at the very end,
we know how Star Wars fans are all super like receptive to child actors.
I think Jodna Nawad is his name, right?
Okay.
Is that right?
I'm sorry, I didn't go through the casting on it. Yeah, I just
so
sort of
Jude Law is playing a character named Jodna Nawad, and yeah, very cool. Yeah, we do see him levitate cell door keys at the very end.
Yeah.
The trailer. So that's sort of.
I feel like that scene's still gonna hit hard when we see it, even though it's been spoiled for us. I think when that happens, you're gonna get the feels.
Yeah,
but I think just like Kanan Jarrus sort of symbolizes, like, I don't think Jedi, or I don't think it's all about being a Jedi anymore. It's like there's people out there who are using the Force, and they're not Jedi per se.
Yeah.
And they may have a history with the Jedi, but it's just a device now. It's a narrative device that certain people have this power, right? And I think that's what's the most interesting part of Jude Law's character is like, what's that ultimately going to mean? And could he just be like a huckster, sort of like, I don't know, sort of like a underworld character or something of that nature that's sort of just like around these kids at some point in the narrative, and then moves forward in their own in his own story, and sort of like it's just a crossing of paths essentially. And
totally, and it's post Empire, right? So, or the post the Empire. So at this point, there's less danger in just openly using the Force if you're Force sensitive, right? The worst thing that could happen to you in this era, realistically, is that like Luke Skywalker comes knocking, right, and asks you to join his cult, and you're just like, no. Right? Like, yeah. So he might be someone who's just more comfortable flaunting his Force abilities.
So, all right. So I have two ideas here. And it's a question for you. Would you like? I think there's sort of like two ways it could go with. I'm just going to call him Jude Law because I'm going to just massacre the on screen.
You're not going to say Jodna
meow meow.
You're not going to say that?
Come on.
Yeah. Nope. Jodna.
What kind of Star Wars fan are you, Ben? Really? Come on.
Unpracticed at saying that name. So I'm just going to go Jude Law. I think he's either a complete wild, like Boken, right? Just like Boken Jedi, just no masters, just figured it out on his own. Or he could have been mentored by someone on the path, which we know sort of includes the people that we see in Obi-Wan, and includes really whatever's about to unfold with the video game series Jedi Survivor, so like Cal Kestis or something like that. Which would be your preference? If he was pure Boken or like...
Can I choose a third option? Is that possible? I'm going to let Adam answer first. I'm going to try to retain my thoughts.
I will accept the limitations and rails of your question. If I were to choose those, I like the idea of a Boken Jedi. Like, I love that idea of someone who's self-trained and maybe isn't like the best Jedi, but has just figured out how to use the Force to help himself. I just don't think that's where they're gonna go. They're gonna tie it into Luke Skywalker or the path. I feel like. Great. What's your third option?
I don't think Luke's temple is built yet. I don't think there's a safe refuge for Force users who want to become Jedi, and I think there's still a great fear and hesitation about revealing your powers to people. And I think that there's such trauma built into having Force powers, given that the Jedi were hunted for a number of years. I wouldn't be surprised if this character is sort of just trying to stay under the radar, yet has these incredible gifts. Like, that's sort of the character I want to see, is a sort of a, like, almost a thermitage, or like a illusionist, or like someone who's just like a street magician. I essentially want to see what is kind of like the Kumail Nanjiani character from Obi-Wan, but just someone who actually can use the Force. Power. And it's what it is just a street level Force user who is untrained in all arts of any order.
So it's both of those things. Yeah. So you developed obviously the character much more, but so you think completely untrained, under the radar.
Yes.
Just like
that's what I would like.
Trying to essentially
can use it to his advantage.
And doesn't really know what to do with it yet. I mean, that's fun because it's untapped, really.
Yeah.
He can eventually run into Ahsoka or something, and then
or Luke. And then you start getting like old EU and what you guys were talking with Jason last week, of this idea of like, it's not about age, right? We it's not like this weird thing that we have to take kids because after that they're broken and you can't train them in the Force to be a good Jedi for whatever reason, which is what Luke got rid of. Well, didn't get rid of, because when that started happening in the old EU, the age thing wasn't a thing yet, right? Because those books were coming out prequels. Yeah. So that was a weird thing that they had to be like figure out of like, but if we're, trying to retcon everything, basically Luke was just like, no, we don't need to do that anymore. Anyone who has the Force, we can train to be a Jedi, right? About the philosophy. And so that would be interesting to get someone the same age as Luke, who grew up with Force powers, did not meet an Obi-Wan, right? And had to figure it out himself, has been hiding out, has been using it mostly for good.
The fact that he's still using it now means like he actually practiced and he actually like dedicated himself to it.
Yeah, maybe because as Grant said, he's like a street urchin. Yeah. It's good for picking pockets. Yeah.
That's what I hope, because I think Jude Law would just do such a great job of
it's right up his alley.
Character.
Yeah.
I think that would fit the like sort of Goonies frame that they set up too.
Yeah, there's got to be a journey for his character as well, right? And I'm thinking, Adam, you said maybe he's using those powers for good or whatever, but I beg to differ. I think he's probably been using those powers for self-serving sort of interest, right? Where he's like, I'm just going to selfishly use my power for this, selfishly use it for that. But then after meeting these kids and some of the the galaxy, he's like, I'm going to use these powers one last time to get these kids home, essentially. Which is like, to me, that's an arc, and that's an arc I would love to see from.
Especially if it's an arc where it's the first time he actually shows people that he can use the power. He reveals his ability in front of these kids because he knows he has to save, because he gets this feeling that he has to save them.
It's almost poetic in that it's like almost the origins of what the Jedi are, right? It's like the Jedi discover they have this great power, right, to manipulate reality and manipulate physics, and it's like, are you going to always use that for yourself? Or are you going to always use that to get what you want and for essentially dark side purposes, like, or are you going to use it for others? And for him to go through that journey in a very sort of like personal, like internal sort of way is so interesting. And to me, it's a poetic resonance that the show could thrust the show forward.
It does, and maybe it mirrors a bit of what's going on galactically at that moment too. Of the Jedi are now, or Force users are coming out of the hiding, right? That being in hiding for the past 30 years at this point, about 30-ish years, right, are comfortable coming out of the hiding, which is interesting. Is like maybe there's this moment, if we're going to tell this story, of like, no, there are hundreds or thousands of Force users that have been hiding.
We won't really know what happened until we find out more about Luke's temple, because like what the Force is doing then. It's like, did he try to recruit some people and couldn't find them? Because I mean, his temple wasn't hundreds, it was like a dozen, a couple dozen or something.
And is he recruiting middle-aged men? We don't know yet. We don't know the age ranges of who he's recruiting.
What all that's going on. But I mean, it is sort of curious that like, then did the Force go to sleep and then the Force awoken? Like somewhere around, that impasse with Kylo Ren. Like,
that's so interesting, because that might be reframed in a way where that initial Force Awakens trailer actually just kind of doesn't resonate in the way it did when it did, essentially, which is like
we've still got like 30 years until Force Awakens, or 20 years till Force Awakens.
So many Jedi.
There are so many people, Force sensitive people out there, even people who don't, their powers don't actuate in any real way, but it's like, I'm sure they're out there, right? Like people who have senses and whatever.
Yeah, it really looked like a first attempt for Luke too. Like he's like, let me just he had a bunch of people that he met and was like, okay, I'll just start with these that I know, and let's see how this goes.
There's two parts. So that's why the arc to me is twofold, right? It's like, not only maybe has he been using his powers in a self-serving way, maybe he hasn't reached a level of using his powers in a kind of grandiose or large-scale way, like Yoda lifting the X-Wing. So maybe he has to do not only not help himself, but also use his powers in a bigger way than he ever has before.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the arc is kind of multi-pronged, essentially. Yeah.
I could definitely see him being a little underpowered Jedi when we meet him, and then goes on his journey, really embraces the light, has his emotions and his whole self behind helping others, and then finds some more power. Like, there you go.
Hey, and I was called out last episode for not being present. We were talking about attachment, but hey, I'll do it now. Maybe his attachment to these kids is what allows him to feel the ability to use his force at a larger presence.
That's a whole third lane I haven't
even
even thought about. So like there we go. There's like so many ways the character can embody all these ideas around Star Wars and sort of really bring it to fruition for, you know, a lot of us who are watching it with our kids, but it's like it's actually it's got a lot of fruit for older audiences, right, as well, and for that character's essentially for the older
oddly
audience.
This is the one like after that like mystery box like bonanza that was Acolyte, like I'm so ready for just like a straight ahead
Star Wars fantasy kids thing. But I feel like it's so funny because I grew up, you know, watching like Star Wars and identifying with Luke, like as we all did, or most of us did, you know, because that's the main protagonist. And I feel like I'm gonna watch this and love the kids and totally be like, I'm totally Jude Law. Like, like just, you know what I mean? I'm just like this. Like it's just gonna feel like as this when first says a middle-aged man watching another middle-aged man in a Star Wars.
That's why he's there. He's for you. And wouldn't we all like to be Jude Law?
Yes. My wife would like that very much.
Yeah. That too. Mine too.
Mine as well. Yes.
I'd like to be Jude Law's wife. He's such an amazing actor, and he's been in so many like really, really important science fiction films. Yeah. It's just like it just really feels like we signed like Ricky Henderson in '89, like,
right?
Just like,
this was like one of the biggest when they mentioned this casting, I was so on board.
Like he's been in a couple things here and there, but it's like this could be like a Jude Law renaissance. Everyone being like, "Oh, this guy is amazing."
He is finally so like I always think of him in what's the movie that's not very good but makes you cry at the end every time? No, it's Gigolo Joe. I've never even heard of that. No, the Tom Hanks Road to Perdition.
Sure.
Right, Road to Perdition.
The creepy.
It's one of those classic ugly up a handsome man, ugly up a person to try to be. But
they
do it. They do a good job, and he disappears into it. But that was the moment where I realized, oh, Jude Law is a character actor in an extremely handsome man's body.
Yeah, in a stupidly
and similar like a Brad Pitt thing, but he's like aged into being like able to be a character actor. So I think we are gonna get a very big presence of middle-aged Jude Law for the next 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like you see him taking off like Pedro Pascal, like sort of all of a sudden he's just everywhere.
Yes.
Because people will be like,
totally.
"Oh, yeah, we've totally underused this dude," and like, can we? Yeah, here's everything that you've wanted to do, but. Yeah, he does all these quirky, really fun roles. Gattaca was a really great movie. I really enjoyed that. And
he's super charming in The Holiday, which is a blank crazy movie, but like it is for some reason a Christmas rewatch in our household because mostly we watch it and go like, this movie's wild.
Okay.
Like,
I'll add that to the list for Christmas
it's not that
24.
Fun. It's not that fun, but when you watch it, of just being like, this is a movie that was made and it's considered a romantic comedy, and it's just like we're gonna like Jack Black has like a somewhat romantic role with Kate Winslet. He lands Kate Winslet. It's
I think his range is unparalleled, honestly.
Nope.
Good. That's better that way.
But not only do we have Jude Law, we have Nick Frost in this show voicing the droid SM33.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I love me some Nick Frost.
Yes,
that's great.
The droid just looks
that man was born to be a droid.
He was so tired of Simon Pegg just being like, at least I was in a Star Wars, like over every beer they've ever had together.
Right. He's like, my turn. Yeah.
That man's pathway to being in film and TV is fascinating.
Simon
but like
Pegg?
just Nick Frost.
Okay.
Nick Frost didn't have a day of acting, was not an actor, was the person who hung out with Simon Pegg. And Simon Pegg and why am I blanking on his name? The director who did Edgar Wright, thank you, who worked together to do other stuff, was doing the show Spaced, which led to Sean and all that stuff, said, do you think Nick would want to be in this? And he was just like, no. Nick was like, no, I don't want to do this at all. And like, no, you were going to do this. So this is the person that like, they got into, never acted in his life. And then like you get him all the way to like The World's End. If you ever watch The World's End, which is like, it's so good. It is a movie that is everyone's least favorite part of the Cornetto trilogy until they watch it 3 times.
Okay,
and
I've
then
only watched it once, so I guess I've got to watch it 2 more times. Okay.
I know this is such a weird thing,
I
but
trust you.
Swear to God, I did not like it the first time I saw it. The third time I saw it, I'm like, this movie is
World's End, Leaving
movie.
Las Vegas double feature? Ultimate drinking
like,
movies?
You get like Nick Frost in that movie. Like you realize this
so
movie,
dark.
This man,
it's the darkest drinking movie of all time.
You know?
Yeah.
That goes after, Leaving off Las Vegas goes second.
Oh, I watched the Leaving Las Vegas in college when I was like at peak drinking, like of my life, and we're just like, that's hilarious. Anyways, you guys want to get a 30 kid?
I watched it when I was straight edge, and I was like, see. As he
but I mean, the World's End though, it all kind of resorts around that pub, right? But Nick Frost just so charismatic.
Dude, he had that show that came out like where he was a ghost hunter recently. It's fantastic.
Yes,
Hot
that was
Fuzz
such a good
is
show.
one of my favorite movies of all time.
Hot Fuzz is amazing.
Yeah,
that might be the perfect trilogy.
I think Sean still takes the cake for me, but
sure.
Yeah.
I mean
that might be the trilogy where I refuse to actually put it in order.
Sure.
Because I think they're all amazing and they're all so different. And actually, to Shaun of the Dead is getting back in theaters. I think this nowish because it's like its 20th anniversary, which is depressing.
Cool.
No, it might be its 25th anniversary.
That's
already
wild.
No, 20th anniversary. 20th.
Yeah.
We also have Carrie Condon, Tunde Adebimpe, and Marty Matulis, who is Vane, I think, the pirate from Mandalorian.
Okay.
Yeah,
Who's
returning.
good? That's some good makeup, and I like that. Yeah.
So just really cool.
He seems like the right level of bad guy for kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like for going against kids. He's
like, oh, got your next
evil,
time. He's got
like
evil
scary
and
pirate
mean.
character. Yeah.
Evil and mean, but beatable.
Yeah, but eminently beatable.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, no, he'll slot right in there. I really loved the droid. So I guess this is the Nick Frost voice.
Yeah, SM-33.
Yeah.
Droid,
that's like welded into melted into the ship, which is so frightening. But I love that it's like sort of this droid skeleton that's like their guide through their adventure and helps them out like that. We've never really seen a droid play that role before.
It's like a Goonies pirate skeleton droid.
It's very piratey. It's very Goonies. I mean,
yeah.
It's maybe the first thing I watched this with my 4-year-old. With Carly and I watched it with our kid.
Yeah.
And I forgot there was like a skeleton in this thing. She's like, fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, I forgot she watches the Incredibles, which has a long extended scene with a skeleton.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's right. She's fine.
When I was a kid, the skeletons didn't bother me. It was the guy with the. I'm sorry, I don't remember the character's name. With his face, like that guy scared.
Sloth.
Sloth. Yes, thank you.
Sloth. Yeah.
He scared the.
I could tell you the names.
Adam's parents bought him the $100 collection.
I may have watched that movie way too much.
Did you catch the name of the ship that they discover?
No,
I did Onyx Cinder.
There we go. That's an S-tier name. Finally.
Yeah, well
finally.
Yeah.
That can sit next to the Havoc Marauder as like really good
Thank you for saying
Havoc Marauder.
Yeah, it's been too long since I've mentioned the Havoc Marauder.
Yeah, for shame. That should be mentioned every week.
I know, like it's like so metal. Yeah, and so so the Onyx, what now?
Cinder. Onyx
Cinder. What a great combination combo.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
No sense, but you're like,
sounds
cool
like
name.
Sounds like
cool words right next to each other.
Just the trailer has such a beautiful vibe and look. And John, I have full confidence in John Watts. I loved the Spider-Man movies.
Spider-Man Homecoming is a home run. I show the opening scene of that movie in my criminology courses.
Oh, that's great.
Because there's a moment where he's trying to fight crime in New York,
and
he's bored because there's not really street crime happening, and I'm like, this is the most realistic thing you've ever seen about crime.
So he's
being
just
portrayed.
like eating a sandwich on the rooftop.
He's eating pizza on a rooftop, and he's like swinging around asking people if they need help, and they're like, no, we're good. Like I show it to my kids, I'm like, this is actually in this weird superhero movie. This is the most realistic portrayal of
Spider-Man
of Spider-Man.
He's not like Matt Reeves as Batman, like taking out people who are vandalizing property.
There's just
spray paint.
There's just the Warriors. The Warriors just happen to be in the subway that day. He just happens to fight all of the Warriors.
The guy with the guy
dumb movie that I love
who runs away, and that is just hilarious to me. Anyways,
I should not like that movie. I don't know that movie, but I do.
It's a fun movie.
It's not good, but I love it.
I just thought the opening scene was the crime we're fighting.
The Warriors is amazing.
Yeah, it was like
the Batman
guy doing graffiti. Like, okay, it gets better from there.
It doesn't.
Sorry, right?
A lot of leather, a lot of squeaking leather.
A lot of squeaking.
What else happened at D23? All right,
so much.
We're talking Endor.
Saga Andor.
What do you guys know about Andor? So I don't know any of this stuff. I will be.
I don't know much either. Adam, what do you get?
It was mostly things that we knew were confirmed. So a couple of big news items is that K2SO, Ben Mendelsohn is Krennic to be there.
Okay, well, let's not just like skip over that. That's huge, right? Like K2SO, Alan Tudyk.
We knew this was coming, but yeah,
I know. We all knew this was coming.
I kind of want to like suppress the memory though, and then just let it happen. Because like, remember that scene in Andor season 1 with like the same droid like comes up the beach, and then you're just like, oh, is that gonna be the dude?
Right. Mm-hmm. Ben wants that meet cute with K2SO to stay unsullied. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. So this is a chance to get another one. This will be like the real one that actually happens.
It'll be the real one. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, but I love that they already planted the seed where they're just like, oh, he's got to get beat up by one of these droids at some point. So like the next time he sees one, he's gonna be like, "Ooh!"
Can I talk about how much I love that scene on Nyamos when the Imperial security droid just like holds him against the? I was like, this is like incredible. Mm-hmm. Like this actually makes me more scared of the Empire than like almost any scene before it.
Yes. Yeah. That's the scariest Empire scene because it's so real. Right?
It is.
I'll never forget the dissertation that Adam did about like you're like, no, this is actually how police work works. And
it's the bureaucracy it's the bureaucracy of the criminal justice system. Yeah, it is a problem.
Yeah, and I was
Shore Trooper just
terrifying.
Like calling the shot.
Calm down, sir.
That might be my least favorite thing in Star Wars. I'm watching. I'm like, I'm at work. I'm doing work now.
Honestly, that's the biggest gut punch is seeing your hero just get bagged by a bunch of like slimy imps. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
So yeah, and then we also heard that Saw Gerrera is gonna reprise as well.
Wait, so Ben Mendelsohn though, like this is
Ben Mendelsohn. That is the one. That's the one I was most surprised by because they're gonna have to. I mean, they'll probably cut it in with the Mon Mothma line, I'm guessing. Like, I don't think there's not gonna be.
You don't think it'll be ISB related, like Wolf Yularen? You don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't want people to catch on to Stardust or whatever. Like, kind of situation.
Yeah, I think so. But you're not gonna have any.
I mean, so we did have one cutscene, right? In all of Andor, and it was the last scene. Wasn't it a post-credit scene? Or no?
Yes,
it was, the last
scene. The Death Star construction.
Yeah, I mean,
right. That you find out that everything coming out of
So that's introducing the Death Star. I mean.
It's true.
I mean, it is heading directly towards Rogue One, right? We know the season's going to end the moment Rogue One starts, so it does make sense to like sort of start introducing these characters. I mean, I wonder if we're actually going to graduate to Wilhuff Tarkin in this series, or if we're like Krennic's going to be the highest we sort of go in the ISB. But they're in a great position to give Ben Mendelsohn as Director Krennic like an awesome intro. Like, you're feeling the levels of bureaucracy in a great way in the Empire right now. It's like you're starting with Deborah, I can't remember her name.
Dedra Meero,
thank you. You know her, and then then we have Partagaz, Major Partagaz, who's the greatest character in Star Wars as far as I can tell. And then then we even get Wolf Yularen.
We get some Wolf Yularen.
So he's like Admiral tier, and like when that anyone talking down to Major Partagaz is like that they're serious. And then we're gonna have. I mean, I guess Wolf is really ranks above Ben Mendelsohn because he's like sort of
but he's in a different lane, right? Because he's in the research, the art, No, I agree. That's interesting. I didn't even think about Tarkin. I bet you we get a Tarkin. They just love to pull that card, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Do we get a Vader? Even just like a second of Vader?
Well,
like just
yeah. I mean, Krennic has the gall. He has the Death Stars in his pants to go to Vader's castle to ask for a favor from Vader. Like,
I forget that happens, and
to tell you the truth,
to Vader,
I did not like that scene, so I kind of buried it in my mind.
It is not.
I do not like that scene.
I love that you're in Vader's castle, Grant.
I love that. I love all that. The choke on your ambitions.
Line.
It's a killer to
the
me.
Way
I
he
groaned.
Stomps into the
I actively groaned in the theater when I heard that line.
Oh, are you kidding me? I was fist pumping in the air. I loved it.
but I wonder
lower
if we get,
bar over here in Ben World. Yeah.
Mustafar, always great to see.
Mustafar's great. I love everything. I love the fact that he did have the gall to go there. Like, I love that, and I do love that it like ended up with him being force choked. Yeah. It's honestly just that line. Drives me nuts every time.
Not to choke anyone, but
what if it's like subversive? What if it's like Krennic's a dinner guest at like Mothma's house or something? You know what I mean? Like, what if it's super subversive? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like him in officiating something or whatever.
Maybe
sort of like ships passing in the night, sort of like they meet, like, but they don't really know what parts they're going to play.
Or I mean, so he seems kind of fancy and like a dandy, and so like maybe she's like, I'm going to invite him to our dinner party because maybe I can get information
this guy's
out
hiding
of him.
Something.
Yeah,
this is the guy hiding something. He is the target, right?
Yeah.
You know,
that could be.
Because there is in that in one of the books, is it Rebel Rising, where is it Rebel Rising or Catalyst? I can't remember which one, where Krennic is like meets
I think it's Catalyst.
Where he actually meets what's her name. I can't remember the main character.
I don't know if Krennic's in Rebel Rising. But
Jyn
it's all
not
over
Jyn Erso.
Catalyst. It is Catalyst because he actually meets Jyn Erso as a kid, right? Like they kind of play out that scene.
Oh yeah,
it is like a dinner party. It is like almost like a dinner party.
They moved to
scene.
Coruscant.
But that's back when Galen Erso and he were working together as buddies. And if memory serves, though, it's 7 years between.
It's
like when I think Galen Erso had disappeared for 7 years before Rogue One.
Yeah.
This is a long time.
This
because
you
have to let Jyn Erso grow up.
Totally. I think my point is that like we've seen him at dinner parties, right? Like we like it is this interesting like on Coruscant at dinner parties, like he would not be out of place, hanging out with Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
That would be so fun to just have them there. They don't know who each other are, and they're feeling each other out, and it's just like amazing dialogue that's gonna make me fall on the floor and flop around.
And you give Ben Mendelsohn dialogue. You give that man dialogue all day long.
Yeah.
There's also bandwidth to tease out the Death Star too, right? Like we don't need to see the Death Star, know it exists for a while. They could intercept some garbled message about scientists working on something, right? And and then that could call for, hey, we got to target this guy, Orson Krennic, Mothma. You got to have Perrin invite him over for a dinner party. You need to talk to this guy. You need to know what's going on. We need to figure out why he's recruiting scientists essentially for this project, whatever. Because it's not just the construction of the actual sphere of the Death Star, right? It's also the sort of the laser weaponry, right? Like,
That's specifically what I think was hanging up Krennic and what Galen Erso was there for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, was the actual laser, right? Yeah. What else? So I know they also did confirm that every 3 episodes,
because it's 4
every 3
years.
episodes.
Yeah,
every 3 episodes they're going to jump a year. So that was confirmed that we get which I love.
Nice.
He's like it's because I think that's how David Lewis says it's 4 times the show. Because you got 1 year in the life of Cassian in the first season, and now you're getting 4 years.
I really I would be willing for them to release 3 episodes, wait 3 weeks, release 3 episodes, wait 3 weeks, because they're gonna feel like feature films.
I kind of
love
gonna
that.
Be
four feature.
It really
films.
will be.
Yeah.
Release them in batch drops
Can
3
you
episodes.
believe they're making that much Star Wars content? How long did Rogue One take to come together? And in 2 years, he's essentially making 4 feature films worth of content. I mean,
it's amazing. I mean, TV is just a big different beast, but it is amazing.
But it's not like at least in season 1, it's not like the production value dropped at all. I mean,
not at all. It looks like the stuff they're doing on Disney looks like feature films. It's wild. It really is wild. And then the only other quote that I think's interesting is that Diego Luna said this series is going to make Rogue One feel like a completely different movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I bet because all this Mon Mothma stuff, if she kind of so she gets this, this Hail Mary from Galen Erso, but if she already is sort of tracking Krennic, and we know she's been tracking Krennic, and then she it could give so much context for all these people. I mean, and we're gonna, go through so much stuff with K2SO. I hope they meet him early in the 4 years, so we can get more John Tudyk. But it's gonna be there'll be so much.
Well, that's interesting because I could see how maybe the case goes cold in terms of them discovering the secret of the Death Star in Andor season 2.
Yep.
And
or it's really just starting to ramp, but there's a lot of questions.
I think that's what promotes the importance of Jyn Erso, right? Like Jyn Erso is going to feel like almost this character that feels serendipitous with the Force, right? Like they interact with.
She's
Jyn
like
Erso,
a catalyst.
Interacting with Jyn Erso, they discover.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yep.
They discover the real secret they've been hunting all along, right? So like maybe this early group, the Proto Rebellion, the Circle, or whatever their moniker is, like maybe they get close here in Andor season 2 to discovering something.
Yeah.
Especially with the announcement of Ben Mendelsohn's return. But then it's completely basically shut out. They were completely shut out from that truth and that knowledge and that data, essentially. And then that's what makes Rogue One so interesting, right? Is that they meet this person who is the actual catalyst, right? Of change, right? Of that whole thing.
Right.
So.
But it feels like the will of the Force, right?
Yeah.
Like this meeting. Yeah. But I agree with you, Grant. I feel like it's good. They're going to get frustratingly close in this season, where you're just going to be like, every time you're watching, you're going to be like, oh, if they just did this one little thing, they would have figured it out and been able to destroy the Death Star before Alderaan.
Right, because that's kind of precedented. It's like you have Sybil, whatever, Yarn, or Sybil Karn, whatever.
The serial killer?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Cyril Karn could stop, like...
Yeah, he was looking. He was looking for Cassian Andor, and he was already in prison. Like that.
Just take someone who's just buried in hate and drudgery. That person sort of goes out of their way to ruin your plans of discovery of this Death Star, essentially, and then you essentially do not get that knowledge. You do not get that intel, and then come Rogue One, we meet Jyn Erso. She provides the intel. She provides exactly what they need at the right time. Yeah.
I am weirdly happy that there's such a big gap of time between Andor season 1 and Andor season 2, because it means it's going to require me to rewatch Andor season 1 before season 2.
Sorry, wait. So how much time is there between 1 and 2? I mean, I know between. Okay, please.
I don't know. It says it will premiere on Disney Plus in 2025.
Oh, you mean like actual physical time between watching?
Yes, not like within universe. Just a year, I think.
Yeah, it's the next year.
Yeah, but no, in terms of actual our time, I will have to, because I know all this, but I'm like, I cannot wait to rewatch Andor.
Right.
Happily right before this starts. But yeah, so they said release date's 2025. I'm guessing summer. I'm guessing it's going to be their big summer drop.
I had a friend last week be like, is Andor good? Oh, I've been thinking about watching it, and I was just like, first of all, it was on like a group chat that I have with my college friends. And
but do they know? Do they watch Star Wars? Have they watched Star Wars?
Yeah,
things?
they're casuals.
That's very casual, though. I'm trying not to judge.
No, I mean that's. I think that's like median standard. It's like
that's actually interesting.
He's like he watched Obi-Wan, so he didn't love Obi-Wan for whatever reason, and that kind of turned him off of some of the other shows.
Fair enough, I get that.
But he loves the Mandalorian,
love it, but I get it.
That sort of thing. This is Tim Coburn, outing him now. But yeah, it was fun, and
that makes me happy that he has no idea now he's going to be able to experience Andor.
So that was my second thought. Like my first thought was like, first of all, I just was like, yes, absolutely, because I know he loves Tony Gilroy, and we've talked about that movie. Why can't I think?
Michael Clayton.
Michael Clayton. Thank you. Yeah. Like we've definitely like geeked out over Michael Clayton before. I'm like, oh my god, this dude's gonna go crazy, and other people chimed in as well. But then my second thought was like jealousy. I was just like.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, you get to watch this for the first time, dude. The first 2 times, like the second time was like almost better than the first.
You get to see Richie from the Bear just be the greatest character of all time in Ski.
See, here's the problem is because I totally watched these in separate in the orders, and I've not got back. So I'm like, that's right, that is Richie from the Bear.
Yeah.
And I also you just mean I think you mean Ben Grimm, but it's fine.
Even Moss Baccarat is a treasure.
Moss Baccarat's ever done. Like the
so
Skeen stuff is so good.
He was so meant to be Ben Grimm. The thing.
Yeah,
I'm very happy about that casting.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just an individual. Yeah.
And then we got anything else in Andor? Should we move to Mando?
Yeah, feature film. Look at this looking like a feature film, which it always has.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the feature film that we know is coming.
Got an official date, May 22, 2026. So that's a little later than they first, because it seemed like they were going to take the Christmas slot, 2025, but they pushed back. I'm all for pushing back. Please take your time.
Are we still going with the title The Mandalorian and Grogu? Are we still going with this title?
That's a working title.
Yes, that's a working
title.
No way
but that's a title that keeps flashing on screens,
that's
at
what
large,
they're calling
right?
It.
Okay.
They will change it. Maybe, I don't know.
I love
maybe
your
they think that's
confidence,
just going to be like.
What if it's The Mandalorian and Grogu, and then all the text kind of dissipates into just the Mandalore, and you establish the Mandalore of this era, essentially? To me, that makes more sense.
I think this is going to be
a sneaky Sabine film. It's a sneaky Sabine story.
I think this is a high-octane, standalone adventure story to get butts back in the seats in theaters for Star Wars. I think this is not going to move the mythos forward all that much, is my theory about this movie. And I think I'm going to love it.
Do you have a cop?
That's the other part. Is like I think I'm going to be very happy.
Is it a buddy cop movie? Is it what is it essentially with the Mandalorian and Grogu?
I don't know.
I mean, it could just be season 4, and then just turned it into a feature.
It could
trimmed all the fat and just turned it into a feature.
They have been shooting for 2 weeks at this point, and they already had a sizzle reel.
Yeah.
Oh, did they show a sizzle reel?
They showed a sizzle reel. I did not see it. I did hear what was in the sizzle reel, which is like a Hoth-like planet.
Yeah, so I saw
Imperial
walkers. We got snow troopers. We got AT-AT walkers. We see Zeb.
Zeb Aurelios is back. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Yep, and we see Grogu hanging out with some Anzelians.
Oh, nice. He and the Anzelians.
Yeah,
he's like, I like these guys.
So,
so Grogu are the one sort of like, combat team that Thrawn can't account for and can't strategize around, essentially. To me, that's interesting. It's like he is such a master tactician that he's able to surmount any obstacle or threat, yet this duo is like, I don't know, it's just they're sort of unpredictable, and they're just empowered in ways that he's not ready for, essentially. To me, that's interesting. But again, I don't know. I think the Thrawn story probably has to do more with Hera, and probably has to do more with Sabine and Ahsoka than it does Mandalorian and Grogu. So I just don't know what the threat is, really.
If it's not Thrawn, what is it, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he could just be doing some patrolling. Then they might just send him off on a different sort of all set of adventures. I mean, he's right. His mission now is really just to train the boy, right? Give him some reps in the field. But this could just be the forgotten. What was it called? Rogue. What were they gonna call that show with?
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah. It could be. I mean, it could just very much be. As I'm trying to think, exactly. Ben, you asked me, was their mission now? Nothing. They're retired.
Yeah.
They're kind of sitting there, but he has decided that he's going to train Grogu as a Mandalorian. So maybe that's what this movie is we cut into Grogu's training, and they get embroiled in something.
Right, and he said he said with Captain Teva, he's going to help him out, and he's like, if you need me in a freelance capacity, so he'll be working with the Republic, which is
that's a good point. Gets a
call. That's a good point.
Yep.
They'll be working with.
I mean, once again, since this is going to be a sneaky backdoor Luke Leia Han reunion, I think.
Okay. Right. I've heard this everywhere. Yeah, I've heard this everywhere that you're going to see the Trinity essentially.
You've heard it everywhere on this podcast.
I will bet dollars and donuts we're going to get at least a scene with those three together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I could see this kind of being a duology, because we don't know that he's not doing his other sort of Avengers feature that was already announced. I think. I mean, because this is Favreau, right? This isn't Filoni, right?
Correct.
It's Favreau and Filoni, right? But I think Favreau directing and them writing, I believe, yeah.
And Filoni writing?
I think Filoni writing with Favreau. I think it's back to core.
Yeah, but so it's essentially
Mando.
It's Mando, right? But then
exactly,
the Ahsoka movie. Oh, but then there's supposed to be another feature
Ahsoka
film
movie
that was Filoni's.
That's Filoni's directorial debut.
I think it'll be kind of like a duology between these two.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Oh, so it sets up Thrawn's big return at the end. Or
oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
which would be so unsatisfying to me. I'm so sorry to say that.
Unsatisfying. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know.
it'll be like Ahsoka season 1 for me, which is like sorry.
I have a feeling they want to make this very much. You don't need to have seen anything but a couple of episodes of The Mandalorian to understand what's going on here. Yeah. You have to get this to be a global success. You cannot do what Marvel's done. The reason why Marvel's dying, and I love Marvel, is because you have so much homework ahead of you, or at least people feel like you have so much homework ahead of you before you can go to a theater to watch a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the reason why Deadpool and Wolverine is doing so well, is because that feels like a separate thing, and you don't have to do homework. Yeah. Even though Boy, being the only one to have seen that movie, there's a lot of homework to understand half of the jokes in that movie. But people don't care because they don't think they have to do homework.
I wouldn't be surprised if the target that is assigned to them, their first mission essentially, sort of then spirals into a larger story, right? Like, it'd be so interesting. I know we read the Shadows of the Sith book and the sort of like the cloning that's happening, and the sort of numerous sort of Palpatine clones, Strandcast clones that are just like escaping the facility and all types of things. It's happening, I guess. I wouldn't be surprised if you get another one and it's sort of like everyone attached to that target essentially is like taken out, and that whole thing is buried in, you know, in secrecy, and Mandalorian and Grogu are connected to that. That could be interesting. That could be a threat that's outside of I'm just thinking about things that are outside of Thrawn, because I have to think Ahsoka and Thrawn have the most conflict together, and therefore like the catharsis would be greater with that character and Thrawn, or Hera.
It's really Hera and Thrawn.
Yeah, it's really like Hera and Thrawn.
They have beef.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah, because he stole like her Kiakura or whatever, her, like, you know, family heirloom thing. She got it back, but like, well, yeah.
I think Filoni's on record saying that Thrawn's like Thrawn is the antagonist for Hera Syndulla specifically. And also said a lot of this story is really to support Sabine more than anyone else, and so we haven't seen Hera or Sabine sort of step up into the limelight as the sort of main character of a story yet, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of what Filoni's building towards. But because I think what Filoni's building towards here is that the poetry is that Ahsoka sort of has a lot of her own autodidactic sort of learnings outside the Jedi, right? Whoa, and then when she trains someone like Sabine, it actually leads to the sort of like I guess the sort of like truly virtuous or selfless sort of Jedi warrior that all the films and all of Star Wars has been building towards, right? This idea that maybe the Jedi didn't get it right. Luke was kind of closer to what was going on there, and maybe Sabine through Ahsoka's training is the ultimate form of this sort of warrior that is basically in tune with the Force and sort of doing all the right things, and likely becomes the Mandalore. In my opinion, I think Sabine will be the Mandalore. That everything is ducking and veering into different directions as to who could be the Mandalore, right? You think Grogu or Manda or Din Djarin or Bo-Katan could be the Mandalore, given you see all this Mythosaur stuff. But I think that really is subverting what is the actual story, which is Sabine, given what we've seen in Rebels and things like that with Sabine and her relationship to Mandalore, the planet. And to me, I think that's the thing that we're all waiting for the other shoe to drop on. And I have to think that Mandalorian and Grogu is going to have an all different threat, like a entirely different threat for that movie.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's this plot line, like you said, for Mandalorian season 4, which they should just retitle Mandalore,
right,
and move on, right? Mandalore season 1.
It's almost like that fun little button, right? It's just like Mandalore. It's actually you've been watching this all along. We're gonna change the text here. It's the Mandalore, which is the leader kind of character, right?
Grant, I love something you just said, because it sort of reframes to me Luke Skywalker's legacy, and I think like that would actually make him the last Jedi, like but
he's like of the old order, right?
Of the old order,
of the old order,
exactly.
You know, it kind of peters out. All his trainees are dead or converted to the dark side. Yeah,
but he's a bridge to the new
to the new Jedi,
right? Like
the new Jedi
actually
Order,
leads to the new Jedi Order, which is amazing, right? He's the last Jedi that helped create.
That's a great epitaph for him. Actually, like it's actually a really positive epitaph. You know,
truly
like
is,
you know, because he did he saved the galaxy, you know, with the help of the legacy of all the Jedi that came before him. And then, you know, went through some ups and downs, hit some you know, strikes and gutters. And the
person who's starting
did pass the torch.
Yeah, and the person who's
passed the torch, passed the name, didn't pass the blood.
Yeah, exactly.
That mighty Skywalker blood isn't there, right? But the name is there. It's kind of beautiful. Yeah. Accidentally beautiful,
or intentionally beautiful, but we're just getting it now, 7 years after the movie came out.
Yeah,
I love that he instills Rey with this idea that you don't own the Force, the Jedi don't own the Force. Yeah, you know, you need to. It can't be like what the High Republic was, where you're authoritarian about who can wield the Force and keeping tabs on Force users. It has to be that the Force is, you know, omnipotent, omnipresent, and will be in the galaxy forever, and it's bigger than everyone
or organization.
That was so important
religion.
to pass to the person who's going to start the next order, essentially.
So his like last training really was this. I mean, even though it was kind of nihilistic, it was just sort of explaining why everything was wrong with the Jedi, and like that was really his own core teaching that he could actually pass on to create something new. Yeah. I mean, kind of brilliant.
It's kind of truly brilliant. It's not kind of brilliant. It's truly brilliant.
It's amazing because
it's truly brilliant.
The Jedi teachings about what they should do, what their role in the galaxy to be peacekeepers and helpers and those things, and the way they interact with Force is not wrong. It's their feeling that is the only way.
Right.
That's where they go wrong. Right. Is when this is the only way you can interact with the Force, which is true of most religions, right?
Yep.
Is they get in trouble when they're like, our way is the way, all the other ways are wrong, and we will destroy everything that's not us, right? That's where religions tend to get largely problematic.
Yeah.
But anyway, can I talk about theme park rides?
Theme parks, yeah.
Theme parks!
All right, so I'm going to try to keep this one as short as possible because this was the stuff that came out kind of like after the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff, but like they dropped the biggest thing that kind of happened at D23 is they dropped all of the updates they're doing to the theme parks, which are huge. The number of updates they're doing to all the theme parks, giant. Every single theme park in California, every single theme park in Florida, across the world are getting updates.
Wow.
Huge updates, big rides, really big stuff going on.
Wow.
I won't go into that. The biggest thing that kind of connects us is they're adding a giant Indiana Jones ride to Animal Kingdom in Florida, which is kind of awesome, which is something I've been yelling at them to do. Themed? No. I don't know, but I know. No, but it is going to be like a giant part of the land. So they're doing stuff. They're doing like, there you go. That's the right one. Then they're doing in Kanto, they're doing a ton. It's a kind of amazing, the amount of stuff they're doing. And what was curiously missing was any discussion of Galaxy's Edge, right? They had this list of everything.
Okay.
And they announced one thing that they're doing, which is somewhat big, but they're updating the Millennium Falcon ride in 2026. So Ben, you and I have been on the Millennium Falcon ride. We have done that. They're adding Mando and Grogu in a completely new playthrough system.
Okay. Nice.
So the only reason I want to talk about this for a second is a couple things. One, from a very business standpoint, the fact that they're updating everything but Galaxy's Edge is interesting and somewhat worrying.
Yeah.
From a
well, they took
standpoint.
Such a bath on that on the
cruise
line.
Cruise line that, and like, oof, I don't think it went the way they did. But this may mean the other thing that I think is really interesting is, for those of you who don't know, real quick background. It is completely immersive when you go into Galaxy's Edge, except for all the people in non-Star Wars t-shirts. But it's supposed to be completely immersive, and it's supposed to be canon and take place on one specific day between episodes 8 and 9, which is very strange.
Yeah.
And so all the rides have to be between episodes 8 and 9. The fact that they're adding a Mandalorian and Grogu overlay and playthrough to the Millennium Falcon ride, to me, indicates that they are moving away from this Galaxy's Edge is canon stuff. Because to put Mandalorian and Grogu in something and say, yes, Mandalorian and Grogu are still hanging out in between episodes 8 and 9 limits the storytelling, right? So I'm very happy about this because that's my biggest complaint about Galaxy's Edge is make it immersive, have everyone pretend they're part of this planet. But can we also have can we have legacy characters wandering around there? Can we add another ride that's not, that could be more maybe original trilogy or prequel trilogy? Like, I like the fact that they're getting a little looser about this. Everyone's going to come in and cosplay thing. It's still there if you want it. But so that's kind of big
looser
news
or more exploitative. Because to me, almost every contract that comes with a role in a film is going to be translated into some theme park aspect, right? Like Downey's coming back as Doom. He's going to voice more Iron Man related things and Doom related things at the theme parks. It's a twofer essentially. Mando and Grogu are coming in. Pedro Pascal is signing to do so much more at the theme parks. Anyone who's coming in to do anything is getting this other aspect to their contract.
The standard Disney contract is that you have to do the rides too. It is hilarious. As a side note, if you go through any of the Guardians of the Galaxy rides, you can tell which actors were happy to be there and which actors were fulfilling a contract. It is very funny to watch. Watch Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana's performance on the Guardians roller coaster is one of my favorite things. Where you can she's like, "Yes, we must save everyone."
She's supposed to be over it though a little bit because she has to deal with Quill and all these incompetent people.
It's a little more, and I like Zoe Saldana. I think she's great in things. I also don't blame her for being like,
pretty
I have
dry
to come
read,
here.
and you're like,
it's very dry read.
It's sort of like you're sitting there in like a themed spaceship in like this 360-degree like projection, and she's like, then she's just giving this droll thing, and you're just sitting there like, can you just say the line? Just say, but like say it good.
Just say it.
Yeah,
just say it kind of good so we can like wrap
so
this.
We can keep
do you know who the happiest person I've ever seen to be in a theme park ride ever is?
Daisy Ridley.
She was great. She's really, really good. Tom Holland in the Spider-Man ride.
Checks out.
It made me almost cry. I'm like, this 30-year-old kid is so happy to be here, and like totally did Peter Parker to the point where I'm like, this is the best performance as Peter Parker I've ever seen.
He's like forever 16, like
pre-show.
Though, the way he plays that character. I think it's acting too. I don't think it's him because I've seen him in far grittier, more.
He can do stuff. But anyway, that's my like theme park corner. It's just interesting that they're not really doing anything with Star Wars while everything else is getting a major update, but they are loosening the canon. The other thing I was going to say, Grant, about this is, to your comment, is it's true, but they're already doing it because if you go on Star Tours, every single current actor is there. Like when I went out in California, I got the Ahsoka Daisy Ridley.
Sure.
Also, very happy to be there.
Yeah.
She was great. She was so on board. She was completely Ahsoka, and like also got choked up to get Ahsoka to tell me I'm gonna like ride with some purpose.
See, the thing about Rey Skywalker is she's essentially Superman. Like it's such a cool character. Like I'm pumped for so much more Daisy Ridley and Star Wars content, theme park content, movies. Like I can't wait to see her when she's completely unlocked outside of that sequel trilogy, sort of like her journey as a Jedi, her journey as a warrior, her journey and as her tutelage of other students, things like that. Like to me, I thought it was what I wanted with Luke, but then it's like, I'm happy to get this with any character essentially, and I would love it with Rey after those 3 films and sort of growing with the character. It's like I cannot wait for sort of more content featuring a Rey that's even more confident than we've ever seen before. Like, think of Return of the Jedi Luke. Like, I almost want to see that version of Rey, essentially, of this sort of like, meditative, cool warrior, clad in black. Like, it just, there's a part of Rey that I think we haven't seen yet that I'm very excited for. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be
same.
Yeah. All right. A quick aside. How many scripts do you think that Charmine has submitted to Kathy that Kathy punted out the window?
Well, I don't. I know.
Charmaine, not like she hit it. All right, let's just say that she rejected it. She's like, try again.
She's not writing it. It's
writing.
There are other writers.
No, the guy. Isn't it the guy from who did
Peaky Blinders?
Peaky Blinders, and also created Deal or No Deal.
Sure.
Not sure. British gentleman, I'm sure. I'm certain.
Or Who Wants to Be a Gentleman. Right. I can't think of his name. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think just, like that is Kathy's MO.
So starts with an S.
She demands perfection, and like
that. Do you want to know
this is an important
how
film.
many?
Yeah.
Do you want to know how
setting
many?
The over under at 2.5.
I will take well under that. I don't think he's submitted a single one because he's currently like
no,
because the screenwriter
ultimately comes through Charmaine. I guess she's just
she is directing the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
right. I mean, she will like edit.
Oh yeah.
She'll have the writers on set.
Yeah, there's clearly not a production
but like,
right. So it's just the script.
And
at this point.
he's currently trying to like finish up the final season of Peaky Blinders. So I don't think his attention's very much on Star Wars. Similarly, like this Taika Waititi Star Wars film that we're never going to get.
That one we're never going to get. But this one,
because that man never stops working on stuff. Also, watch Time Bandits. It's wonderful. I'm not complaining. Everything Taika Waititi's doing is wonderful. Yeah. So,
they're just referring to Charmin Obaid-Chinoy as the filmmaker. So that I'm sorry, I must miss that, but I haven't. Sorry, I'm doing the Googs right now.
Oh, by all means, but no, that's just you.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, they've just teased the script like twice now, or Daisy has. They're like, I'm about to read it. Daisy's like, any day now, and that was like 6 months
waiting for it
ago.
To come in.
Yeah,
I've read the treatment.
She's like, I think we're really close to a script, and it's just like the months keep ticking by. And I'm like, oh man, those
recently
scripts
on a podcast say she has not read a script yet. Like
he's read like a treatment or like a
I wonder what the Damon Lindelof script, right? That's an actual script that's out there. The one where she's aged up.
Yes,
Stephen Knight is the name of the
Stephen Knight. There you go. Yes, I forgot about the Damon Lindelof. Like Ray is 60.
Script.
Which
one doesn't count.
And he was very vocal about his departure as well, which was pretty interesting. I was like, wow, he was like very vocal about sort of not wanting to be a part of that process, the process being a little bit too. Again, I think saying something very similar to Mangled in that you're almost writing a gospel or religious text or something that's like everyone's scrutinizing, every letter of the word, and it's. I get the pressure around it, and I get you're trying to navigate this fan base. That's sort of the fan base is sort of in a strange place right now, where I think we can all admit that the fan base is kind of fragmented, right?
That's
fair for sure.
Right? Maybe the fan base needed to get fragmented because you had a lot of people just wanting more traditional Star Wars, where it's this standard Arthurian, legend, and not really pulling at the seams and trying to explore maybe some deeper avenues. But
it's like even the haters are buying tickets, so it's like they're like, okay,
that's the
great.
thing is
we love
like
the discourse.
It's just like it's just a weird thing where you also have the overlay of just toxic internet troll farms kind of.
I only saw it
stuff,
6
and
times. I'm like, you're like, okay,
I this sucks. I hate it. I watch every single thing, and I pay Disney Plus every month. I'm like, then vote with your. I also want to talk to you like
they love the.
You live in a capitalistic. We live in a capitalistic society. Vote with your dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's about. It's about getting clicks on your YouTube channel or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's like it's not really about.
It's terrible that we rank things and we have to hate things in this country. Like everything I see nowadays is like everyone's being negative about something.
Yeah,
like us.
Just to get clicks and to make money. Negativity sells. It's so gross.
I mean, we'll hit stuff that doesn't work for us, but like I'm like, it doesn't work for me. The first time I watched the Skeleton Crew trailer didn't work for me. Then I watched it 10 more times and I love it, and I cannot wait for the series. Like like it's fine. Like
it's funny.
Like some of us may not be the biggest fan of like a movie, but we also watch it.
I just think movies are the way to go because you can create giant set piece moments that sort of just shut down these people on YouTube essentially. And so if you can create like 3 or 4 giant spectacle moments that just literally are just awe-inspiring and almost sublime that just shut down these people, it's better than a TV series that like a prestige streaming series that then it'll have big moments, but then like afterwards you didn't spend a ton on these big set piece moments, so you can't really create these undeniably great moments that are to me movies are the way to go for Star Wars. I just feel like you're getting too much to talk about on TV, and you're not spending enough to shut people down.
That's the thing. To be honest, you have a much bigger budget and less time in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic stuff.
We were going to do comics on this episode, but I think we've gone long enough that we can probably just maybe come to maybe one little final sort of question.
We can kind of maybe just freewheel it for a little longer and then push comics for next week, because I agree. I feel like we could cover it, but we're gonna feel rushed because we don't want to keep you here forever.
This is so fun talking about D23. I mean, this is my favorite stuff.
It's
same here.
But connected to all this stuff, I just had this epiphany the other day, which is that they're really struggling on the Rey film, as we've been talking about. Not struggling. I have no idea what the internal sort of development process is for that film. But we know the mangled Prime Jedi film is in the works as well. And we also know that Kathleen Kennedy said that the Prime Jedi film would be connected to the sort of Rey New Jedi Order film in a very deep and interesting way. And then I had this epiphany the other day, and I was like, could you not combine these films? Like, could these films not be combined in a way? Could these ideas and maybe a journey to the past into one film, essentially? Like, not one film, but a trilogy for Rey, but maybe the first...
Would you cross-cut over time, or would you...
If Rey represents a sort of character, like this all-powerful character, essentially she's not just a Skywalker, she's a Palpatine, right? Like, this is the all-powerful Force character that is essentially like the deity, character of the Force, in all of Star Wars. I wouldn't be surprised if she unlocks a new Force ability, right? And could that Force ability not be like going back in time, or at least looking back in time, and then like what was that? And essentially,
communicating,
right,
like exactly, or is it like, not to bring in Dune, but like the Bene Gesserit has that ability to to pull in memories and have discourses with previous Bene Gesserit. Like, maybe that's the thing, is that she learns how to. So, because here's the thing, I don't want to bring an ability where you can change the timeline, because that's a problem.
That's Marvel,
if you could,
right?
Like,
we're not
watch it,
right? Like, if you could go back in time and pull forward Yoda and have a conversation with Yoda, like that, because here's the thing, we're only locked into the only people who are able to become Force ghosts, right? That were like, which is a very limited number of Jedi when you do it, because Qui-Gon was the first one to kind of figure it out for a long time. But maybe the Jedi have this ability to go back in their timeline to talk to people. So you could pull forward an Avar Kriss, you could pull forward someone else, you could go back and witness
that's
things.
A new Force power altogether, right? Like, to me, that was like, it's because shouldn't she unlock something? Luke unlocked something. Palpatine with the lightning, like Palpatine with the I don't know, the sort of like mind transference, the dark transfer, right?
The transference,
right. I know nothing about, by the way.
Luke with the projection, right? Like, it's projection across the galaxy. Like, shouldn't Rey get something?
Yeah. Projection through time.
Projection through time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this.
So this is precedented. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was a Star Wars comic, and Luke Skywalker fell into a bunch of flowers on a strange planet.
Oh, right.
Oh, I remember this.
And he had a conversation with Elzar-Man. Yeah.
Elzar-Man.
From the High Republic. So, I mean, it's not the same thing, but that's precedented enough. I love that. That's very bold, and so would be so fun to like live action Avar Kriss, like, conversations, that sort of stuff would be like insane. But I would settle for less, like do something sort of like Game of Thrones, where they have the Godswood, like the white trees with the bleeding eyes. That's sort of like so you can just sort of like touch them and you can see all of time, like pretty much in the past.
I love that.
Game of Thrones is doing this, right? Yeah, we know
something where you can use time but not manipulate time. I think is important. But here's the thing, like, now I'm trying to think back to the end of Rise of Skywalker. She gets all of those messages from people. Those individuals, I don't think they all became Force ghosts, right? Did they?
Well, Ahsoka may or may not be dead.
Like, we can assume that if she did, she was of a time where she could be. I'll give her that.
Anakin could be on a different plane altogether than everyone else.
Ghosts, but there's others. There's like Mace Windu. Mace Windu?
Other Jedi chime in.
Mace Windu was there. A lot of people don't know that, but he was there.
He was actually like in the corner whispering.
Mace Windu was actually still alive.
He was 150 years old, which is really old for a human.
That's hilarious. But she found a way to commune with dead Jedi who weren't able to become Force ghosts, right? So maybe that's part of her thing, is that she's tapped into this, so she has access to the entirety of all Jedi across time.
Jedi Google,
right? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
There's something there. There's something interesting there.
So maybe she is. Yeah. So she is the council. She is the Jedi Council because she can bring it to all of the Jedi.
I just love a really troubled Rey, like a really like kind of insane, like too much power, more power than she knows what to do with Rey. Like that.
There could be something Doctor.
So
there could be something. I don't want to really marvelatize the entire thing, but it's
no. But we're borrowing from like Dune and Game of Thrones.
That it's like, you know, I don't know. There could be something that in starting the Jedi Order doesn't go right every time. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, there's something to that's interesting. Like the initial conflict between two people who are Force sensitive goes bad, and then there's 1 out of 1,000,000 chance where it goes well, and maybe Rey touches that specific, you know,
right?
Like,
how do you thread that
sacred
needle?
timeline, something like that. But it's like, I don't know. There's ways you could do this. That's very interesting. But
to be able to talk to all these people about what went wrong, like what went wrong with your people, like to be able to talk to Obi-Wan and Luke and Qui-Gon and like all of these people and Anakin, right? To be able to like dissect that whole lineage to figure out what went wrong to avoid that, you know. And Kylo.
But it could be in that, like, but
Ben.
what's great
or Ben.
Oh, so here I have a pitch for you guys. What if in going back to see the very initial Jedi, the first Jedi, the Prime Jedi, Rey interacts with these characters and it goes bad, and then the bad character catches on to Rey's presence and then comes back to her timeline, becomes the villain for a trilogy, essentially. Then you could eventually have a time, you know, a villain that basically transcends time that comes to be the villain of her trilogy.
They did this really badly in the old EU, towards the end of the old EU run, and I can't remember the name of it. No, not Abeloth. Okay. No, Abeloth was skillful.
Yes, that was actually well done.
Talk about. Well, yeah, and this was like, there were some, basically they had some old Sith from the Sith War fall into a time fissure and pop out.
This is why we need Adam's insight.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the name of the book. I can't remember, but it's really towards the end. Like, it was like one of the last like 10 books. But it was it was this way of like, how do we bring the Sith back? Like old school Sith. But you could do this in this way, right? That exactly that like. But like, I know that was such a lazy storytelling. Like, it was just like, no, we're actually doing this. We're doing like Star Trek. They fell into a wormhole.
Filoni's doing it now.
I just can't do a movie called The Prime Jedi, guys. I just can't. Like,
I don't think they're gonna call it that.
The Mandalorian Grogu and the Prime Jedi are just not titles.
Their naming is garbage right now, but they'll figure it out.
They will figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But this idea of like, I like this idea of like a Sith in that timeline somehow being able to figure out that communication is happening, and then like just riding it back, somehow, and do possession, and then you know, this is actually pretty classic in the possessing one of the students, right? And then
I personally think that's super interesting, and it's almost like it's a new threat that transcends sort of the barriers we've seen before, and therefore is higher stakes, scarier,
and it's not a really aggravated teenager adolescent wanting to pretend to be his grandfather, which like whatever, like you're I get it, like that's kind of what you're stuck with, but like now you have a threat that's like, no, this is a Sith who like commanded Sith armies.
Can we end the podcast right now? This is perfect.
Up against,
I'm having a perfect moment right now.
I'm ready to answer your question now, Grant.
Okay, go for it.
The answer is I hate it, and the reason is because you're saying I'm trading a max 6 movies for a max 3 movies, and that math just doesn't work for me, buddy.
I forgot I was talking to you, Ben.
Yeah,
yes. More Star Wars is better.
More Star Wars better.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, you are the Kylo Moore meme.
I am the Kylo Moore meme, physically instantiated. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I love brainstorming that just happened right now. So I'm just
that's fun.
I'm gonna think about this all night.
No, it was good. It was good, but no, seriously, more.
I think there's just a way to do. I think it works for the brand.
You get maybe you get your cake and eat it too, in terms of maybe the big bad that is introduced in Prime Jedi is the one that rides the wave up.
Listen, if we're talking about this right now and that's what they do, that's awesome. I'm so happy we're doing this, because
we should write down and mail it to ourselves, because that's how copyright works, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, mail it to yourself. Right? Don't open the letter. Yeah.
Well, it's been recorded. Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, like I'm so basic, guys, and I'm not saying I have good taste, but I have something that resembles a taste.
Yeah,
I like just give me an Eye of the Webbish Bog villain, and I'm happy
also
with it.
wonderful.
Listen,
Just give me that weirdo that we didn't get, just some old.
Honestly, just
Sith
give
Lord.
me
the Trevorrow weirdo from that.
Not even the Eye of the Webbish Bog. The one that got cut. Like I'm cool with that. Just some ancient Sith like dark side presence that's been lingering. That no one's been paying attention to.
I think the problem with that is it's redundant, right? It's like Kylo was with Snoke, who was like this strange sort of alien character, and then it's like he goes to another sage alien character. It was just, I can see why Kathleen turned down the sort of Trevorrow direction.
Well, that makes one of us then. Two out of three, really. But yeah. No,
Adam will always be in between. So I love.
I'm fully on Grant's side of this one. Sorry, buddy.
I love the idea of going to like a haunted Sith like site to meet with some weird like dark side alien. That
but then at that point, JJ and Terry are like, "How about just alien?" And I was like, I kind of. Again, I do not like the Rise. The Rise of Skywalker is a fine Star Wars movie. Like I enjoy it when I watch it. It's great.
Yeah, it's very
just
consumable.
Like, it is very Occam's Razor though in a lot of ways, where it's like, why don't we just make that character Palpatine, and why don't we just
there's
run
no,
it back? You know, and it's like I don't mind.
They're not trying to be. They're not taking chances in that movie. No, there are no chances taken in that movie.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
In weird ways, but I mean, I'm fine with it.
I like this
idea
movie
that
now we just talked about right now with riding through time and the villain coming back through time. I think that's very interesting.
But Ben, if the big bad is the Eye of the Webbish Bog, I'm also fine with that.
You know what I mean?
I want that. That needs to happen on screen. That's like my last. I feel like every time they do something, and I'm like, they did everything I wanted. I realize one more thing, but really, this is the last thing that needs to be checked off my list. Is live action Eye of the Webbish Bog.
Yeah.
Give me the baby head. Give me the baby head.
I mean, Greg Pak did do it, but
I know.
We will talk about comics next week, so I know. Maybe we can do a little side.
And I'm already excited about the comics, but it'll be a 3-hour podcast, and there's just no one got time for that. To quote,
no,
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, yeah, that was awesome. That was really fun, guys. Always love coming to the Cantina with y'all and talking about Star Wars and doing the thing. And you know what? We're going to do it next week, too, just like we always do, right here on
Cantina Chronicles.